Hey Russell, guess what I bought the other day?
What's that, mate?
I bought another copy of Skyrim.
Oh, Todd Howard, you've done it again.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Bearded Geeks, the weekly grab bag of topics covering movies, comics, video games and TV. My name is Jages, I'm the Beard Master, and with me today, the fourth Bearded Geek, it's Russell Redmond.
Woo!
How you going, mate?
I'm very good, actually.
Do you like being, like, the unofficial fourth Bearded Geek?
Yeah, I feel a little bit special in a way. Like, there's not too much, like, put on me to be the Bearded Geek.
I'm just like, I've appointed you that privilege because you pretty much are.
Well, that's it, yeah. I really need the attention, so I'll come in every now and then, and you're just like, hey, do you want to talk on a microphone? It's like, yeah, I would, actually. That'd be great.
Well, you're like our first sub.
Yeah.
So, like, if anything ever happens, you're the first person they call. I'm like, can you come in, Russell? Even though you bailed on me the last two times.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
You're such a shit bloke.
I hate having this job with a rotating roster where it's just like, for an entire month, I have to be an arsehole to you.
It makes it hard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, this is our first podcast back post-break. I had a month off.
Welcome back.
Very, very good.
Welcome back.
I feel a lot better. I feel very rested. I played a lot of video games. I watched a lot of TV. I ate a lot of food. It was good. It was good. Glad to be back. Glad to be back in the Beard Cave and back in the swing of it and stuff. So, yeah.
Excellent.
So what's been happening? Oh, before we went, I did the Hotter show, and that was really good.
Great episode too. Great to listen to.
Thank you very much. Thanks again to TJ for inviting me on.
TJ.
I asked Pat, like, I did it, like, it was like a week after it had been out, and I'd seen him, and I was like, oh, Pat, have you listened to the episode of the Hotter show I've been on? He's like, oh, no, I haven't done it yet. And I bet he still hasn't. That was like a month ago. He's like, oh, I've got it there. I've got it ready to go. He's too busy listening to bloody Your Mum's House podcast. He's obsessed with it. It's fucking stupid.
What's that?
Oh, it's some fucking podcast on YouTube. It's called Your Mum's House. It's like two comedians, but they're husband and wife, and they just sit there and it's.
I don't want to sound...
He loves it, but I've listened to a bit of it. I'm like, yeah, it's not very good. Like, I don't want to bag anyone, but yeah.
I don't want to sound
like,
mean,
it's
but...
not my cup of tea.
Two comedians, like... they're partners, obviously.
Yeah, husband and wife.
Yeah, so it's basically just them teeing off on each other about how shit they are.
Yeah.
For like an hour.
Remember when you had a shit this morning, you left the door open?
Oh, got him. Hey, remember that time that the mother-in-law was over and I said I didn't want her to come over, but she still did? Oh.
Isn't that the fucking thing about mother-in-laws there? They just turn up when you don't want them to.
I got no problem with my mother-in-law.
I'm sure she's a lovely woman.
Oh, no, she is. Like, you know how women end up looking like their mothers?
Yeah.
Another 10 or 15 years and I'm fucking set, baby.
So your mother-in-law's a bit of a looker, is what you're saying? Right? Yeah,
I'm always having a look at it.
Do you ever have, like, that fantasy? Where too much.
Oh, in my own time, all the time. Is this being edited?
No. I'm
Oh,
just going to leave it in.
Okay.
I just got to message Emma, make sure she listens to this and plays it to her mum. So.
Emma, this was audio edited. This is not real. This is not my voice. Love you.
This is my voice. A couple other things before we get into it. We copped a bit of flack on our last episode. Jake and I did our Dragon Ball Z episode.
Yes.
And my brother messaged me from Africa. And
how are the rains down in Africa?
And gave me a bit of flack because some of our facts he reckoned were incorrect. And I was like, what facts are you talking about?
Which ones?
And then he went back through it and he was like, oh, this is actually this and this is actually that. And I was like, you're pretty much just confirming everything we said. We're like, oh, are you sure? Isn't that what that is? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So we pretty much just confirmed it there and then on the spot. So pretty much we said nothing wrong, you know.
Yeah.
But so he can get fucked.
Yeah. Hey, Corey, suck a fat one. No, I like you, man. You're pretty cool.
Yeah, he's alright. He's a fucking geologist. What does he know? Go back to your bloody rocks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Taking him for granite. I got it. I got there in the end.
I'm coming off a bit of a cold, so I really needed to get that cough out too. That was good.
Oh, the stones on this guy.
Oh, thank you, Russell. Thank you. And also, while we're on break, it was a Sunday afternoon, and I was just getting ready. I was going to go out, go wherever.
Yep.
And I opened my front door, and here's a parcel sitting there on the front door. And I'm like,
hello.
who fucking delivers mail on a Sunday?
Yeah.
So I pick up this mail, and it's addressed to me, obviously.
Uh-oh.
And it says it's from Mark, my mate Mark. He was on the podcast once. He was in town, and I pulled him in to do our thing, 35th anniversary retrospective, which was like one of our first 10 episodes. So that was last year. So I got this parcel from him, and it was just like after my birthday, and I thought, oh, he must have sent me like a late birthday present or whatever.
Excellent.
So I fucking I unwrap it, and remember our last Super Fight episode? And
yes.
Bobby kept pulling out the same cards from the Super Fight before.
Yep.
And I didn't shuffle them very well. I was like, I shuffled those cards for ages. He sent me a fucking electric card shuffle. So now from Super Fight, from now on, we're not going to have that problem ever again because we've got an electric card shuffler.
That, you know what? That is a great friend. One, who listens to a podcast that you do.
Uh-huh.
Two, that just like listens so well that he's buying you gifts to help improve it.
And I texted him and I was like, oh, dude, thanks for the electric card shuffler. This is going to come in handy. He's like, yeah. He's like, I listened to your Super Fight episode, and he's like, I thought I'd better help a brother out.
Everyone needs a Mark in their life. They really do. Just someone who just randomly helps you out.
Thanks,
reason.
Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
You're the best.
You're the best.
You've been doing a lot of comedy. How's the comedy scene been going for the last, like, 8 months, I was going to say.
Yeah.
8 weeks.
Last 8
because
weeks.
you've been doing, like, a lot of gigs, and I keep saying I'm going to come to them, but I'm a terrible friend, and I'm like, it's really late, and it's going to fuck up my sleep because I get up real early, so I'm not going to go.
I don't expect any
sorry,
of my friends
Russell,
to turn up.
I'm a shit friend.
Look, I've got to be good enough to not have pity laughs. Like, there's some comedians out there that need pity laughs. You know, I'm not going to say who they are, but they know who they are.
Yeah, we know who they are.
We know who they are. Who he is. Yeah. But anyway.
Who can it be now?
But no, it's been going great. Homebrew comedy in Launceston here. We've started up a new material night where it's all brand new material.
This is your comedy thing that you and Jake and...
Me, Jake and Daniel Walker, yes.
Daniel Walker started,
the great man, yes. We started it, taking over for the old one that was there, and it's a fantastic room, nice and like, up at St. John's Craft Beer, so it's a nice back room where there's got a bar to it and everything like that. It's all self-contained, fantastic.
So you guys are like the Goodfellas of the Launceston comedy scene.
Ooh, I'm going to tell the boys that. That's great. Yeah. Sitting at the back bar there.
You could be like the Goodfellas comedy troupe.
Yeah, except we're not really that good. We're just like...
You're the all right fellas.
The all right fellas. But yeah, no, it's been...
A sequel to Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, the all right fellas.
The Australian version, the fucking Goodfellas.
The Asylum knockoff. You know, like when they do, like a Transformers movie comes out and they put out like a low budget ripoff. So like when dads go to the video shop, they mistake it. And instead of getting Transformers, they get Transmorphers. And the Asylum movies, there's always a ship or a submarine because they have like the same submarine set they use for every movie.
Oh yeah, we are sort of like the home brand version of that, but no,
the pretty good, all right fellas.
They're not bad guys.
They're not bad guys.
We've been doing really good with that. Sell out crowds every single time.
You told me you fucking killed it the other week.
Yeah, smashed it. Got up there.
You had him eating out of the palm of your hand.
Man, I couldn't have done any better if I tried, and I did try, which is why I did better. But but no, I've done a fair few new jokes.
So you got rid of all that old shit material.
Yeah, fucked it off. Yeah. No, I'm starting to really like work into that niche of being a comedian dad. Just ragging on my kids, really.
Yeah.
Mostly it was about the wife this time around. It was really good. Like one of the jokes was we're driving down to Bunnings there, and when I listen to the radio, and they're talking about the patriarchy, and the wife was like, "What's the patriarchy?" She's not a political person, so she didn't know. I said, "You don't know what the patriarchy is?" She goes, "Is that a spell from Harry Potter?" I'm like, no, that's not. She goes, "Oh, Patronus. Oh, I'm a silly sausage." No, it's that's what it is. It's Patronus. And then as we're driving along, I was telling her about patriarchy and that male privilege. And then you're dying. and so I said to her, male privilege. She goes, yeah, I don't know what that one is, mate. I'm like, you don't know what male privilege is? She goes, no. So I had to mansplain to my wife what male privilege was. I said, do you know what Afterpay is? She goes, oh, yeah. As a woman, of course she knows.
All ladies know what Afterpay is.
It's like a religion to them. So she's just there. She goes, yeah, I know what Afterpay is. So I said, male privilege is like Afterpay for society, but you don't have to pay it back if you've got a dick. And she said, oh, so your dick's a credit card? I said, yeah, baby. Is that why you're always trying to get your hands on it? And she goes, nah, that's why you always tap and go. Oh.
I have a really bad cough.
For the viewers at home, he's writing out a will. He's dying.
I don't have a will. I should write one. You tap and go.
Yeah, it's great. The wife was actually in the audience there, and she's just like pissing herself laughing, going, ha ha, he's shit at sex.
And I confirmed fact, Russell is a person that has sex with socks on.
Oh, yeah, look, that was someone else's set, and they were talking about people...
But it's true, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. And my wife was looking at me from across the room, just like about
Nodding.
to say something, and I've got my finger up to my lips like, don't you fucking dare say a word. You'll make me look silly in front of these people. So now you've made me look silly in front of your, 5 listeners.
500.
Oh, sorry. Hello, everyone.
Unless they all jumped ship while we had a break, I don't know.
Oh, hopefully not.
Well, that sounds really good. I quite enjoyed that. Tap and go.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Tap and go. If anyone doesn't know what tap and go is, our bank cards or credit cards over there, they have chips and that in them. So instead of swiping and putting in your pin and that, you can literally just tap your card and the microchip just automatically does all the work. It's just beep, approved or whatever.
Yeah, I actually like to fuck with people at the local shops when I'm actually tapping and going. I like to just pretend I'm Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll put the card down and I just go, I end my turn by laying this card face down. And then they're just like, yeah, it's declining. I'm like, you've got to believe in the heart of the cards. Nope, still not working.
You're such a fucking nerd.
I know.
Russell, something big happened while we're on break.
Oh no.
There's been an insurgency into the world of memes.
Oh yes.
Now,
sort of like something to a flame in a way.
I saw this one meme and it made me laugh so fucking much. And I thought that was it. I thought that was the end of it. But now they're fucking everywhere. We're talking about moth memes, moth to lamp memes.
Fucking love them.
Fucking everywhere. I was at my partner's mum and dad's last week, and I'm just looking. I found this moth lamp meme page, and I sent it to you. And I'm just scrolling through, and I'm laughing at all these memes. I'm just giggling to myself, just laughing. And she's like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm just like,
and it's hard to explain it.
I was like, it's just a funny meme, just laughing at it. And then 10 minutes later, I'm still looking, and then I'm just chuckling to myself even more. And she's like, "What the fuck are you laughing at?" And it's just funny. It's just fun. Don't worry, you won't get it. It's just funny. There are so many good memes. This is the best thing to ever happen to memes. They're the funniest thing ever. They're talking about this is the new Ugandan Knuckles or whatever. Yeah. Ugandan Knuckles was shit.
Nothing like it.
This is the biggest thing to happen to memes.
I mean,
you're a meme guy. You're the meme lord of Launceston. What's your deal? What's the commentary on this?
Well, my commentary is it's finally happened. We've finally gotten a meme that's able to stick around for a great period of time and for people to actually invest in, to be able to make new memes built off the same one. For a period up until now, probably about 3 or 4 months, we've only had label memes, which has flooded the market and people can't stick to one meme and really appreciate it. So you can turn anything into a meme, which in all rights you should be able to. But it's good to have cohesion in the meme market, and now we've finally had it with these fucking moths.
This is like morning TV, and you're like a meme analyst. And it's just this is the biggest thing to happen to the meme stock market ever. We're just getting this big influx of memes.
And coming up after the break, we'll be finding out if Fortnite is bad for your children.
But before that, we're going to try and sell you this vacuum cleaner.
Hey guys, welcome now the all new Kirby Suckalot.
There are so many fucking funny ones. I just kept sending them to you.
Did you like the one I made? I made a meme where I put up, it was just basically a black screen, right, with "Oh no, brother" written on it, and then it's got written above at the top, "Moth during Earth Hour."
There was this great one I saw that I think I sent it to you and I sent it to Pat.
Yes.
But it was like, it was just a black screen. It was just a black image, and it just says at the top, it's like, turn up your phone brightness.
Yeah.
And when you turn it up, it's got the moth at the bottom, and it's just like in real small text next to it. As you turn the brightness up, it comes into picture, and it's just like, oh yes.
And the great thing is they put the umlauts at the top of the O's. Yeah. Like, just like the classic one that happened a couple of months ago of the cat looking at the Fruit Loops saying, "Brother, may I have some loops?" It's just like a cat staring at it and just like standing on its hind legs. Very cute. I love cats. So.
There was another one. It was like, it says at the top, it's like, when you find out there are oil lamps, and it's like the moth wearing full like American military dress with a machine gun, goggles, and American flag behind it.
Oh, that is that is a syncretism of two great memes, which is anything involving oil the US want to invade and moths at the same time.
Speaking of US invasions, if we could just go off on a quick tangent.
Let's do it.
I was in JB Hi-Fi yesterday, which is our local like electronics and like superstore kind of thing. And I was on my way out, because this will come into effect later on as we talk about.
Well, you did.
The reason I was in
leave.
JB Hi-Fi, I was leaving, and I just happened to glance over to the computer section where the laptops are, and I saw these two kids on this laptop, and they had the mouse, and they were just clicking through images, and there are all these images of Donald Trump.
Why?
And I was just like,
there are more questions than answers here.
And I was walking past, and I'm just like, I wonder what's going on over there.
Look, folks, I want to say, JB Hi-Fi, they've done it again. Okay, folks?
And they weren't just, like, photos at conferences. These were, like, proper, like, White House portraits of him, like, one arm on the desk, kind of, like, looking over his kind of shoulder kind of thing. And I was just like, I wonder what's going on here.
Yeah, imagine someone gets onto the internet at JB Hi-Fi.
The internet,
and just starts downloading a fuckload of Trump images. Like, why? What's going on in your world if that's what... If I have enough time, it's obviously kids, because as an adult, the only time you've got to do is quickly run up the back, have a look at the big TVs, and then fuck off.
Yeah.
There's fuck all time.
You gotta watch out for these kids. The teens! They're taking over! They're Donald Trump images.
Yes, they're playing Fortnite, they're looking at Donald Trump. What's next with these kids?
They can't even get up and go to the toilet. They just piss themselves while they're playing Fortnite. Fuck Fortnite. I hate Fortnite. Don't try to make me play Fortnite, because I ain't fucking playing.
I don't expect you to. It's basically built for 12-year-olds.
Now, back to the moths.
Yep.
They're so good. If you've never seen a moth lamp meme, I suggest you get on the internet and just Google like moth memes, because they're fantastic. But there's this one particular page on Facebook for moth memes. It's called Lamp Memes for Loving Teens. I'll say that again. Lamp memes for moth-loving teens. Now, I'm not a teen. I'm a grown-ass man. But I love me some fucking moth memes. I'm just going to click on there now. I'm going to see what's recent.
Yeah, guys, I've got to say, all my messages, I had to look at what time I was meant to be meeting up with Jages today. I had to go through so many moth memes to find where he said to me like a day or so ago when he was, because he just sent me so many pictures of moths.
There were so many. They were so good. There's one here. It's like a restaurant. They've got their big billboard sign at the front, and it says "The Lamppost Restaurant, open 24 hours. Our light is always on." And then it's got the picture of the moth underneath with "Breathing intensifies." Oh, they're so good, moth memes. They're the best thing ever. I'm gonna post them on our socials because they're so good.
I put a status update like just before the moth memes hit, and it was a butterfly saying, "My wings can actually create hurricanes on the other side of the planet," and then a moth saying, "I can run into a light bulb and fucking die."
You put up a moth status the other night. What was it?
Oh, fuck.
Fuck. This is the thing about you. I was telling somebody something about you last week.
I shit post a lot.
Because Russell posts a lot of statuses, and I miss a lot of them, so I had to go into his feed, and I was just scrolling. I scrolled for about 30 seconds, and I was just like, that's just a week worth of posts.
Yeah.
Keep going.
The fact that there's friends who have not unfollowed me yet, they're my friends. Like, because I know how irritating I can be online. It's just so much bullshit that I post up daily. But it's hard because you're stuck with a brain like mine, and it's just always thinking of dumb shit. And the only way I can focus on anything is if I get it out.
Oh, here it is. Inspirational quote. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, Moth. Oh, baby. Moth memes, they're the best.
Yep.
Get into them.
Get into them, guys.
I want to talk about a comic because we talk about movies, we talk about video games, and we talk about TV, but we don't really get a chance to talk about comics because I'm really the only kind of comic guy in the room.
Yeah.
And even I still don't have a lot of time to read books. But this is a big thing for me, and I've just read this book, and I want to tell everyone about it. Last year, or earlier this year, I talked about an upcoming Batman book written by Scott Snyder, artwork by Greg Capullo. It's coming out. It's going to be like a Mad Max cross Batman. So Batman wakes up in like this post-apocalyptic Gotham.
I think one of these podcasts I was on, you were telling me about it.
And he has the Joker's head like tied to his belt, and it talks to him and shit. So that story is going to be called Batman Last Night on Earth, Knight.
That's great. Love it.
So it's going to be under DC's new comic imprint. It's called DC Black Label. Now, DC Black Label is aimed at mature readers. So this is for like high-end, like very prestigious creative artists, like creators like Grant Morrison and Frank Miller and all these kind of high-end, top-tier fucking like comic book writers and shit.
Yep.
So they can come in, like all these guys with grand ideas for all these characters that they can't really do in regular continuity because it'll fuck with shit too much.
Yep.
So they're like, if we create a separate label where these guys can come in and do standalone books or 3-issue stories, outside of continuity, they can just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And we can just do whatever. So these are mature books aimed at adults. So the very first book came out 2 weeks ago. It's the first of a 3-issue series. I've got it written down here. Oh, because I always forget.
He's got his notebook out, guys.
No, it's Brian Azzarello, written and artwork by Lee Bermejo, if I pronounce his last name correctly. It's called Batman Damned. Now, the first issue came out 2 weeks ago, like I said, and to start off with, when you get it in your hands, it's a prestige book. So what they've done is the book's oversized. So it's like a magazine size. So it's bigger than your average comic book. It's, it's fucking way bigger. It's fucking beautiful too. And there are no ads in it. There's not a single ad. It's just all comic. So you get this book in your hands. It's fucking beautiful. Beautiful cover. Beautiful artwork. And the story of this book is that you flip it over to read the blurb, and just the first line in big bold text is, "The Joker is dead." So the story starts, like, I don't want to spoil it too much, I'll just give you the gist, but the story starts, Batman kind of wakes up in the back of an ambulance, and he's fucking wounded, he's been stabbed, he's fucking dying. It starts with, like, the heartbeat monitor, it's like, doot, and it's kind of starting to flatline and shit. Anyway, Batman runs into John Constantine, and Batman has amnesia and stuff, like he can't remember what happened. And then they find out on the TV that the Joker's dead. They pulled him out of the river, and his corpse is there, and he's dead. And so the story is Batman trying to find out what happened to the Joker, because he can't remember, because the beginning of the book, because John Constantine narrates...
DC Comics, it's a detective comic.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and Constantine actually calls him detective once in this book, so it actually sets it up that it is like... it's kind of like a murder mystery. It's like a detective story. So, and it's really fucking good, because the book starts with Batman actually falls off the same bridge into the river, but he can't remember what happened. So the Joker's dead, and he doesn't know what's happened, and he's trying to find out if he actually killed him. Excuse me, I do have a cough. Or what's actually happened. And he runs into a lot of other DC characters and that in this book. Like, I won't say who it is, but the story's actually really great. The whole thing's narrated by John Constantine. It has this real pommy inflections and that in it, and it's real fucking good. And the artwork is actually beautiful. Like, if you've ever seen the artwork by Lee Bermejo, they actually did, Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo, they did another book together quite a few years ago. It's just called Joker. And the book's about the Joker, but it's from the point of view of like his right-hand man, Johnny Frost. So he's just kind of like this regular guy who just happens to be the Joker, who the Joker's picked to be his right-hand man, and it just follows the story from his point of view, and he narrates it all and all this sort of shit, and what happens in that story. And that's a really fucking good book. But yeah, man, this book is fucking stupendous, because like I've said, I love DC because I like adult stories. I like more mature stories. Like, I love Marvel and shit, but I really like these darker stories. I've always said it. I like bleak endings. I like dark stories. I love all this sort of shit. So fucking, this is ideal for me. And I can't recommend this book enough. But we got to talk about the elephant in the room as well.
Oh, hello.
This book came out, right? And this is a big thing for DC. This is their new label. They're taking older books that they brought out like 20 years ago, and they're kind of retroactively putting them under the DC Black label, like The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's Ronin, All-Star Superman from Grant Morrison, last year's Batman White Knight, and this year's Batman White Knight. When that comes out in trade in like next week, that's been retroactively put under the DC Black Label banner.
So this is all canon sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like all these one-off stories that are just based out of continuity. These top-tier creators can just do whatever the fuck they want with these characters. They can just run with it and do whatever they want. They can kill the Joker. They can do all these weird stories. They can do post-apocalyptic Batman. They can do whatever they want. But when this book came out, all the internet talked about, most of the internet, mainstream news sites, and fucking on Twitter everywhere, in this book, we've got artwork of Batman's dick.
That is the elephant in the room. Is it huge?
There's this scene where Batman gets back to the Batcave, and he's like talking to the Batcomputer and shit, and he's talking back and forward, and he gets out of the Batmobile, and he's undressing. He pulls off the cowl, takes off the gloves, takes off the, the upper part of his suit, and then he strips off his bottoms, and then there's this scene of him walking in, and you get a better the outline of the Bat business. You know what I'm saying?
The Bat business!
And then later on through the book...
the batwang.
The batwang, yes, that's another one, but Pat and I were talking about it, and I was
I bet Pat was.
I was like, the batwang rises, and then he came back with batwang and throbbing. So I got to take my hat off to Paddy for that.
Oh yeah, well, a classic Paddy. He's probably sitting back going, I wonder what it would look like. So he starts drawing it. His missus is like, why is there dicks drawn there? It's actually the Batman dick. So yeah.
So this book has been completely overshadowed just because somebody drew a cock in a book, and you see it like 3 times. DC knew this was going to bring up like a lot of shit, so they decided for their digital version of the book, they've blacked it all out.
Right.
So instead of just getting a rough outline of whatever, they've blacked it all out.
Once you go black, you can't go back.
All future publications of this book are going to be censored, so they're going to be the blacked out version. So, after a day and a half, this book that came out, this first printing, is automatically the uncensored collector's version. So if you get on eBay, people are selling it, and I was seeing it, there were bids on it for like $80, $100.
This is amazing.
With like $30 or $40 postage on top. It's like a 28.
My God.
It's like a 27, 28 page book, no ads. Prestige format, like big book, quality.
Yeah, it needs to be big.
Book.
It needs to be big.
And this is all anyone was talking about.
The
and
Bat
just
dick.
like this. It sucks because something so stupid, a fucking dick. There are 7 billion people on the planet. At least 3 to 3.5 billion of those people have a penis. It's something we deal with every day. It's something you probably see every day.
Hate it.
And just because someone's done this artwork in this adult, mature reading book, that's all anyone talks about. And sure, it's kind of funny and stuff, but it's kind of completely, for those 2 or 3 days, it completely overshadowed this book, this first release.
And at what point does Batman not allowed to show his dick? Is that part of his like code of ethics of being like, I can't kill, I can't do this, and no one can see my dick, you know?
That's just the thing. It's like, it's aimed at mature audiences.
Yeah.
So yeah, fucking draw some cocks in there.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. Like, but now it's going to be censored out like forever. Like, I have I have 2 copies of the book. I have the standard A cover, which is the basic cover which comes out,
Yep.
and I've got a copy of the variant cover. So there's a second variant cover with artwork by Jim Lee on the front. Fucking beautiful cover. But I have one of each. And it's just, after a day and a half, it's automatically became a collector's item.
Well, when they excavated Pompeii, they couldn't actually put any photos in the National Geographic and all that of all the, like, walls and stuff like that, because all the walls were covered in dicks. All the graffiti was just dicks. That's all the Romans did. Like, if you see all these Roman movies and stuff like that, there should be a buttload of dicks drawn on the walls.
Wow.
Yeah. That's an actual fact.
I thought you were going to say because, in Pompeii, they were, like, encased in lava or whatever, and they're just got,
no.
They're just these people who, like, statues with dicks hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they just drew dicks.
They were literally just graffitied dicks on the wall everywhere.
And there was writing too. I can't remember what it said, but "Oh womanhood, weep now, for my bottom, for my penis has been given up for other men's bottoms due to you."
Wow,
it's just wild written. All
if any of our bearded listeners want to do like a cock count at the end of this episode, like just put it in the comments below how many times we said penis or cock or shaft or whatever. Just put a count at the bottom below.
I want to get
tally them all together. They don't have to be separate.
Look, I want to get it up to 69. So dick.
Penis. Shaft.
Oh no, it's 71.
Member. Raging.
Yes.
I don't know. I got nothing.
Dicks. Anyway.
Cock! Ass! It's Father Ted.
The classic quote.
But yeah, it's a fucking fantastic first book. If anybody out there like wants to read any great Batman stories, or we've got upcoming Superman stories, and we've got some Wonder Woman stories coming out in the DC Black Label. It's kind of a bi-monthly thing. So we got one issue this month. So in September, we got one issue in September. We'll get the next issue of Batman Damned in November, and then the last one in January, I think. So it's like a bi-monthly series. There's another book coming out. What is it? The Other History of the DC Universe, which is going to be a monthly book, runs for 7 issues. But then they're going to take a lot of these old kind of DC Black Label-ish stories and retroactively put them under that banner. So, but yeah, the Batman White Knight trade, by the time you you listen to this, it should be out. So go to your bloody Amazon, go to your book depository or whatever and buy it.
Get amongst it.
Get amongst it.
Get
definitely.
that bat dick in your life.
Wow. It's like at the end of the last episode, I was like, get some Siri in your arsehole. At the end of the episode, so I was fading out. I was just like, what's wrong with you, Brent?
This is so depressing. Okay, Alexa, play Despacito.
Give me a pasito. Pasito is like a fruit soft drink in Australia.
Made out of passion fruit.
Passion fruit.
Passion
Pasito.
fruit. We're obsessed with passion fruit over here.
Yeah, we fucking love it, don't we?
You know what? Passion fruit was smashed avo for the 80s.
Smashed avo. Smashed avocado.
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 Free shavacado.
Free shavacado. I only got introduced to that like 4 or 5 months ago.
It's great.
And I laugh my ass off. Yeah, every time I'm in the supermarket, I walk past the avocados. I'm like, free shavacado.
I'm actually...
Acavado. Acavado is another one I like to say. I don't know why, because I'm a fucking weird bastard.
I actually don't know why someone hasn't like graffitied the Evoca like signs. Avocado.
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 There's a place in Tasmania called Avoca, so you could just put a couple extra letters on the end, and what do you get?
Avocado.
Avocado.
Actually, I want to make some like working on a joke about like a cross between a bogan and a hipster, and they actually like growing hydroponic avocados up in their roof. Yeah, I'll smash that avo. I can smash it on some toast. Anyway.
Yeah, so DC Black Label, if you're into it, you don't want to get into any big Batman stories, you don't know what to get into, go for DC Black Label. Get into it. I love it. It's one of my new favorite things that's out. So I think I've cancelled my current Batman run. Like, I don't collect the Batman books anymore. I'm just pretty much all DC Black Label now. And some miniseries and that are coming. And I'm still getting Doomsday Clock because that 12-issue series runs for like a year and a half. And I've only got the first half. So got a lot of reading that I need to wait for. But, yeah. let's talk about what we're here to talk about, Russell Redmond.
Yeah.
Now, I was talking to you the other day, Russell Redmond.
Yes, you were.
And you were going to come into podcast today.
Yes.
And we were just talking about generality things which we were going to talk about. And then we got to talking about Ben-HUR.
Yeah.
Charlton Heston.
Big movie.
And we were going to talk about it. And I actually said, you know what? I've never seen it. And then you were like, you shit, insert C word here. No, you pretty much just said to me, I thought a cinephile like you would have seen it. And I took that as an insult to my honour.
I didn't mean to insult you that bad.
No,
but
not
to
really.
be fair.
Not really. I was just like, yeah, he's kind of right, though. So, yesterday, the reason I went to JB Hi-Fi, excuse me, I bought a copy of Ben-HUR, and I brought it home yesterday, and I sat down and watched all 3 hours and 42 minutes of it, or whatever it was. And we're going to sit here and talk about Ben-HUR.
Yeah, or just Swords and Sandals.
And Swords and Sandals.
General, yeah.
Because we've talked about this before, you're a big history buff.
Love history.
Especially like Roman history and stuff.
Anything set during antiquity.
So Ben-HUR is obviously not based on a true story. It's based off like the most popular Christian book ever.
Yep.
It's about the story of Judah Ben-HUR, which kind of runs in tangent with the story of Jesus Christ. But, the Roman Empire frequents heavily in that film and in that book.
Yep.
And so Russell's big on history. We're going to talk about Ben-HUR, and we're just going to talk about Romans, and Russell's going to hit us with some Roman history facts and just fucking... He's going to pull out his big history dick and just slap us in the face.
I'm going to unsheath my gladiator and just start poking you.
Wow, Jesus.
Actually, it's a pilum. It's longer. It's a spear.
It's a spear. I know what a pilum is. Yeah. A pilum is a spear. I know that. Russell, I watched Ben-HUR yesterday.
Yes.
And I fucking loved it.
I'm really glad you liked it.
1959 this movie came out. It was the most expensive movie at the time. It was $15.1 million budget.
Which worked out to be $129 million nowadays.
We did the math, and it was like $129 million.
And by we did the math, we looked it up in Google.
We did. That's what we did. That's what Google's for. You look shit up. So we looked it up, $129 million, which is an extraordinary amount of money for 1959. $100 million was an extraordinary amount of money for 1990 when they made Terminator 2.
Yeah.
So just fucking deduct bloody 30 years off that, like holy fuck or whatever. So this movie came out. It was the most expensive movie at the time. It had the largest sets ever built. It's got one of the most fucking amazing scenes in cinema I've ever seen. It's a 9-minute chariot race, but there's like, the entire scene in the chariot arena goes for about 20-25 minutes.
Wow.
And it's fucking beautiful. And then I looked up, like, once I'd finished watching the film, I looked up like a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of making of, because it's funny with cinema, man. Like, nowadays we can do anything. We've got computers. If you can imagine it, you can do it in a computer. But this is fucking old school Hollywood, man. This is the shit where they had to build sets. They had to build gigantic fucking columns, like pillars. I looked up about the chariot race.
Stellars.
Like, this is the first big behind the scenes fact I'm going to slap you with. The chariot arena.
Yep.
1,000 men. It took 1,000 men 12 months to carve that arena in a rock quarry. So I think it was a rock quarry in Italy, and it took 1,000 men 12 months to carve that entire arena.
That's wild.
Obviously the interior portion of the chariot rink, like where all the statues and that are, and the guys kind of hide in underneath, and they can come out, like medics and shit, or they can pull the horses off the rink and stuff. That was all kind of set and stuff, but these guys fucking carved it out of a rock quarry. It took 12 months to do. Now they would build a tiny little set. They would put a bit of sand in that down. They would put 2 rows of fucking people in there, and then everything else would just be CGI. They would CGI the whole thing in there. And that kind of goes back to the Ben-HUR remake they did like 2 years ago, which is, on another side note, after I watched Ben-HUR yesterday and the chariot race, which was fucking monumental, like, I even, like, gasped in one of those scenes. From a 60-year-old movie, there's this scene where one guy falls off a chariot and he kind of rolls out of the way of 2 chariots, and then he gets run over. Like, just the cut of that. Like, the horse goes over the top of him, then it cuts to a far shot, and it's just the horse and chariot going over, and you see it roll back over, and it's obviously a dummy. But in that split fucking second, I was like, oh shit! A 60-year-old movie made me do that, made me jump up in my seat, and it's just fucking... Yeah, oh man, fucking old school Hollywood. It's just this real romantic flair in that to it,
and a lot of quality, like long like shots and everything like that, and really good camera angles. That it just seems so advanced for the time.
Like Charlton Heston, and I think his name was Stephen Boyd. I'm not sure. He played Masala. They actually trained to actually drive the chariots themselves. Like apparently, Charlton Heston was already an experienced horseman, but he spent 3 hours a day training to drive chariots and set the quadriga, they're called, you know, with the 4 horses and the chariot attached. I know fucking facts, mate. Don't mess with me. I've read Wikipedia. But like Charlton Heston trained, and I don't remember how many tons of sand they brought in to put in the arena. They used like 450 miles of like steel, 450 kilometers of steel tubing to create the grandstands.
Yep.
It was like 5-story high grandstands. It's fucking insane. Like the scale that film productions were back then. Like we sat down and we watched a bit of it early. We watched probably the first hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because you said to me, like, you've never seen Ben-HUR.
Yeah.
And then I messaged you yesterday after I watched it, and I was like, I had to retain like my cinephile membership. And then we're sitting here watching it today, and we're an hour in, and then you're like, I've never seen it. And I was like, what?
Hello,
I thought you'd
My
watched
name is
it.
Kettle. You are black.
I thought you'd watched it, and then you were like, and we can talk about it. But
No. It's I haven't watched it because a lot of it is so incredibly inaccurate. And as someone who likes history, like I prefer reading than actually watching these sword and sandal movies. But if I find out that this is actually pretty legit, I'll watch it. You know.
Are you drawn, like, if you find out there's a new like swords and sandals movie coming out or a TV show or something, you're like, ooh, I've got to watch.
I'll get excited, and then I'll be like,
you know what? No, it's probably gonna have so many inaccuracies.
It's normally I watch it with my wife, and Emma likes any movie where I don't talk. So if I'm watching something where it's like heavily inaccurate, she'd just constantly be hearing me the whole time. She goes, "Yeah, I'm just going to the bedroom. Hey," I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" She goes, "'Cause you're fucking annoying me." I'm like, "Okay, that's completely understandable."
We were talking about this earlier because, you know, there are a lot of swords and sandals movies out there, or, you know, kind of that genre, you know, swords and sandals and army fights and Romans and Crusaders and all this sort of stuff. But that's the balance.
Yeah, it is a bit of a balance.
It's kind of, you know, if you want historical accuracy, go watch a fucking documentary.
Yeah.
You know? But if you want to be entertained, because we go to the movies and we watch movies because we want to be entertained. You know, we want to be, for that hour and a half, 2 hours, or in this case, 3 hours and 42 minutes, we want to be transported somewhere. We want to be taken out of our daily fucking mundane shit lives and go hang out with Ben-HUR for 3 hours and 42 minutes.
Let's go on the blocky route with Ben-HUR.
But these kind of movies, it's that balance. It's like,
that's absolutely correct.
Do we make it? Do we focus more on historical accuracy, or do we make it entertaining, or do we find a balance? Because Troy, with Brad Pitt, Eric Bana, Peter O'Toole, I quite like that movie. Yeah. I do really like that movie. The director's cut's way better. It's got more in it, like the sacking of Troy and that at the end. That's all in there. But obviously, you've mentioned this on the show before. Troy was only actually discovered and found out that it was real 25 years ago.
Yeah, in like the 70s or something like that. Yeah, it was only discovered, like, up until then they thought it was like Noah's Ark kind of shit.
It was a myth. It was a fairy tale.
And then sure enough, in like Turkey, they just found this area. They're like, yeah, this is kind of exactly where they said it was, and it looks exactly like it is. And under closer examination, like, yeah, we found Troy. And everyone was like, fuck off. You know, it's like finding a unicorn.
Yeah.
You know? But the actual Troy, the movie, is quite legit to the Homeric tales of, like, you know,
the Iliad and
Odyssey
and
in the Odyssey, and all the armor and that is all correct of the
that time.
Yeah, off the urns and the amphoras that are found, like the pottery shards and stuff like that, all pretty legit. Like that, they're all wearing like those sort of old style of archaic helms and stuff like that. That is all, written about in the mythology and stuff like that, which was great, to see all that legitness into it. And obviously the big horsey and all that.
Yeah. It's like Troy's that kind of thing though where, you hear about all these like folk legends and myths and tales and, Achilles and Paris and Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships or whatever and all that sort of thing. And you're just like, this is all storybook. It's all fairy tale, mainly based in obviously the Iliad and the Odyssey. But when you go to make a film of that, I know in that they based like the first probably 3/4 off the Iliad. And then, like, the sacking of Troy is a lot from the Odyssey. But then I read that David Ben-HUR, who wrote the script, when they got to, like, the sacking of Troy and stuff, it became kind of it was a bit of a push and pull. Yeah. So in that moment, they're like, what do we do? Do we really lean toward the historical accuracy, or do we do what's best for the movie? Because at the end of the day, it's not a documentary, it is a movie.
Absolutely. And a sacking is a gruesome thing. Like, you see it at the fall of certain, like, you see it at, like, the fall of certain dictators and stuff like that, and people just, like, come in and sweep through this whole city and just cause so much wanton destruction. Back during times of sieges and stuff like that, men would stay on to satisfy bloodlust, so that they would stay around for longer than what they would to try and see this siege through, so they can go in there
and just murder people.
And murder and unfortunately rape and stuff like that. It's a horrible part of humanity. And to not see it on the screen, like, even if it was like depicted rape, I'm happy not to see it.
That's one thing makes me very uncomfortable, and I don't like in films. I know there are a lot of films out there that do, they're like from the 70s, they're like rape exploitation movies and those kind of things, but that always makes me, those kind of aspects of movies and that, like, if it comes up, it makes me very sick and very uncomfortable. But I do recall at the end of Troy, it's like the most tamest version of that as possible, because that's what Ben-HUR said. He was like, do we focus on the accuracy or do we do what's best for the movie? And he goes, in those cases, he's like, it's always what's best for the movie.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, it is just a piece of entertainment. It is a piece of made-up thing. So you can do, accuracy to a point. You can have accurate armor. You can have accurate ships. You can have accurate weapons to a point. Tactics and things like that. Well, but at the end of the day, we don't really know that much about Troy. We only have these two stories, like the Iliad and the Odyssey. So it's just like,
the thing about Troy,
we're going to adapt Little Red Riding Hood that's based on a true story. This is obviously, that's the thing about stories. They're written to be entertaining. Or, so... or in that case, I'm not really sure about the Iliad and Odyssey. Like, or are they just the kind of things that would, like, I'm just going to depict this, but at the end of the day, it's just, it's not the kind of thing where it's like Homer's just like, I want to sell fucking books or whatever, or whoever wrote the books. He's like, so I'm gonna the sacking of Troy was fucking sick. They brought in this big fucking wooden horse and it was the most beautiful fucking thing, and there are all these guys hiding in there. This is gonna get me all the gold.
Troy, or otherwise known as the gifts I give to my neighbours. But
it's the kind of thing I'm saying that stories are made to be embellished and exaggerated, and that's the thing about stories. Like if they did, like Braveheart, for example, like historians come into like Braveheart and they just like, Mel Gibson likes to do these period things, and he really focuses on the story more, or what's cool for the story, than the accuracy. Like about Braveheart, like in that time period, they never wore kilts, and they never had war paint, and there was never this, there was never that. But Mel Gibson's like, fuck it, all this stuff is just really cool. If we have kilts, we can do a scene where the whole army flashes all the other guys, they flash their butts, and that'll be real funny. That'll be a nice bit of levity before a big battle scene.
Well, that's actually what the, how you flip someone the bird, stick your finger up at them. That's just a way of being able to do it when you are wearing pants.
Yeah.
So you give us someone, as the Romans would call it, the digitus imputicus, where you just stick your finger up at them. Otherwise, it's just a visual representation of your cock and balls. But on the topic of Troy, the actual battling, how they battle, was very similar to how they were battling the Archaic Age, in that they wouldn't rely on a phalanx system too heavily. They would rely on light shield walls and stuff like that. But heroes would go out and battle other heroes against each other, and then if they were hurt, they would be carried back behind. And
at the beginning of the film, where Achilles is sleeping and shit, and they got Nathan Jones in there, the Australian former wrestler actor Nathan Jones. And they bring in Achilles, and he just fucking kills him with one stab, into the collar and shit. Yeah. And that's kind of like hero for hero. We won't worry about our armies battling. We'll just battle our two best, and whoever wins.
Really was the superhero, the Avengers of its time in a way, because you had all these incredible heroes all fighting in this war against another bunch of heroes and stuff like that. And
they would have just been these celebrity warriors, these larger than life characters.
Yeah, because Homer would have been I'm going to add this guy in, and that guy as well, and everyone loves him, so we'll put him in as well.
Helen of Troy was such a beauty; she was the face that launched 1,000 ships. And I remember reading a review about the film Troy when it came out, and it was just about Diane Kruger, because Diane Kruger, she's not an ugly woman; she's incredibly beautiful. But they're Diane Kruger, yeah, she's a pretty good actress in that, but yeah, she's not really the face that would launch 1,000 ships. You know, I'm just that's a bit harsh.
Yeah.
You know, it's more just personality and character and that. The representation of the character and stuff, you know. She wasn't this, godlike beauty that, Agamemnon and shit would launch 1,000 ships to, go and get her back. But
yeah.
Do you know much about Troy, about that era? Because in the film, obviously it's a film, it's made up, it's embellished for entertainment purposes. Achilles has his own force, his own soul, the Myrmidon.
Yeah.
Which are all these fucking... they're pretty much like the SWAT team, the mercenary SWAT team.
Yeah, shit hot,
they just fucking come in and just smash guys.
Smash them, just go in here, fucking smash them. Fucking, for every one of us, we're going to smash 100, It's fucking hope sick. Yeah, no, it's all mostly set during a mythical age where it's not really known too much. It's sort of the age of heroes in a way. So there's not too much archaeological evidence during that time, and it's there's not too much archaeological evidence during that time, but it's all written about in these Homeric tales, and these books were so far-reaching. They went across the whole Mediterranean. Lots of people read it. Even Alexander the Great had a copy of it underneath his pillow every night.
I was actually just about to ask you about Alexander the Great, because there's the Alexander film, which came out probably, 10 years ago or whatever. It starred Colin Farrell and stuff. I know that movie got a lot of flack when it came out, and then the whole fucking thing was re-edited, and they brought out another cut of the movie, and everybody's just this movie's fucking shit because Angelina Jolie's not old enough to be his mum and all this incest and all this other shit. But I've never actually seen it. But from a historical, medieval accuracy or whatever, how you've seen that movie?
Yeah.
How accurate kind of is that film to real thing? Because
pretty good.
If you fucking sell it to me, I might track it down and actually watch it.
I highly rate it. In the 10, you know how we're talking before about realism and
versus
entertainment. It is a perfect mix of the two. A lot of people say it's a bit slow and it drags on a bit with dialogue, but you've got to remember the incredible relationship between Alexander and all of his generals that he had, because all of his generals were all his friends growing up. And it was a real weird thing. Philip of Macedon, his father, actually wanted to start up his own little kingdom in a way in Macedon when he took it over. So he wanted to bring in start up his own schools to teach his kid, to become better and smarter. And so what he would do was any of these people who were under him, he would ask them if they want to bring their kids in and be learning these academies and stuff like that. And even philosophers like Aristotle would teach Alexander the Great. A lot of people say not that much, but it's all there. But yeah, these kids would come in, these future generals and stuff like that, would come in and so it was a very smart way of doing it. Philip Mastodon would get these kids in, these war chiefs and other people like that who are under him, and he needed to control them. And he's like, cool, now you can't actually fight against me because your kids are under my control in this academy.
Oh, wow.
It was a twofold thing. One, teach these kids how to be like smarter. Two, their parents can't fight against them. So he had control of his region for so long by doing that one smart move. And those people would grow up to become Alexander's bodyguards and stuff like that, like Ptolemy, who would end up running Egypt until Cleopatra. Like, they were all one lineage of Greeks. None of them knew how to speak Egyptian. It was only until Cleopatra. She was the only one who learned how to speak Egyptian.
Wow.
And they were all inbred up until that point. So they were all super duper inbred.
What was Alexander's timeline? Because, I mean, how much of the world did Alexander actually conquer? Because there's that great classical quote or whatever that they actually used in Die Hard, which Hans Gruber uses in Die Hard when he sees like the model and that. He's like, what was it? When Alexander saw the breadth of his domain, he wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer. You know, because he conquered most of the world, didn't he?
During the time, it was the known world. He conquered basically from Greece all the way up through to the Middle East sort of area, Asia and stuff like that, up through to about India, then stopped there. And then... What would
that have been like at the time? What, like 70-80% of the known world? Or
let's just say if we're using it, probably about... of that whole continental area, not that much, but a lot of the actual economical points.
Okay.
So the important parts to him.
Yeah.
Like, there was so important, like, you think about this, his father, when he took over Macedon and Greece and all that, he was given a tribute of 600 talents of gold. Now, when Alexander the Great thrashed Persia and took over their area, he found that treasury had 6,000 talents of gold.
Wow.
Just sitting there, like, yeah. That's how rich it was. He was going for that because it was so rich. But yeah, he got up into India, got a bunch of elephants. And like,
so the guy was incredibly strategic. He was incredibly smart.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Would that have been like the generals and that who surrounded him? He surrounded himself with as well?
In a way. And he also, I think, from what I've read, a lot of different things, there is a fairly good chance he actually had bipolar disorder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was incredible risk taker, and he'd be up in the front of battle. And that's why all his men would fight for him, because they were like, oh, this is the guy in charge. He's fighting alongside. Fuck yeah. All right, let's do it. And he would focus very heavily on cavalry charges, which wasn't used too often in the Greek world. Like, they mostly required, infantry. So he had these tanks, the Macedonian infantrymen, who had like stupidly long spears. Like, it's weird that he conquered all of Greece. All of Greece fight amongst each other, just going, yeah, well, I've got my shield wall, bang, against yours. Oh, I got mine against yours, bang. And then Philip of Macedon's like, let's add some fucking long spears to this. They just like crushed them. And they're just like, fuck, I don't know why I didn't think of that.
So how much of Alexander's life and all that does that movie actually cover? Does it cover him from like when he's a young guy, from when he starts up until his death?
It covers all the important stuff.
Right.
It's a really good story. Like,
so it is
fantastic.
So you're selling it to me. It is quite good.
It is really good. I might actually go home and watch it. Tonight if I can.
Do you know? I know there's a couple of different cuts in that of it. Do you know which one's the best cut? I could find out easily myself.
I'm a bit of I'll just take what I'm given a lot of the time. I don't get too hard into a movie like you, but I could be wrong. There might be a better cut of it. Yeah, I've only watched the standard release.
Because we were talking about this earlier. I was telling you about earlier in the week about Kingdom of Heaven.
Yes.
With Orlando Bloom and the Crusades, the Crusaders, Jerusalem, all that sort of stuff. And I was actually telling you about it. You'd never seen it.
No.
And when I first watched it, my dad had bought it and I watched it. This was when the DVD came out and I watched the theatrical cut. And I didn't like it. Like, it was okay, but there was just... At the time, I wasn't as ingrained with film as I am now, and I couldn't really, like, I just didn't enjoy the movie. There were too many leaps in logic in that for me. So I didn't really, they just felt like there were big gaps. And then a couple of years later, Ridley Scott had his director's cut, which was a 3-hour film, and eventually I watched that. I just remember thinking about it like two years ago or something like that, Kingdom of Heaven, and I looked it up and there was a director's cut and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's any better, because I remember I didn't like the first cut I watched. And they said the director's cut is actually much better. It actually puts a lot of story in that into it. There's not as many... I said this to you the other day, like watching the theatrical cut was like having a pond and there are just all these stones which you're just leapfrogging over to, jumping from stone to stone.
Yep.
But the director's cut is more like just having a bridge over that pond. So you just walk straight over, you don't miss anything, It's all very fluid. You're not jumping from stone to stone. And so I watched the director's cut and I fucking loved it. There was so much more in there. There was so much more story. There was so much more side stuff. There was so much character development. And Balian learning how to use a sword, because it's very bare bones in the theatrical cut. Because he starts as a blacksmith and then Liam Neeson teaches him how to use the sword once, and then he goes into the first battle and he's just fucking murdering guys left, right, and center with the sword like he's a master swordsman.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more training and stuff and that goes in there, and it's a lot more fluid, and I fucking enjoyed the hell out of it. And I remember when I finished watching it, I was like, man, that was really good. This was the cut they should have brought out.
Yeah.
And that's like studios. They just,
well,
they get nervous, they get scared, like a movie like Batman v Superman or Snowpiercer or something like that. Like the studio gets real scared that it's not going to be exciting enough for like American audiences, air quotes, sorry Americans, aren't going to get it.
Well,
they're not going to get all the smart stuff. So let's just cut out all the character interaction and just leave a lot of the action beats and just the bare bone character stuff.
It's very similar to like with stand-up comedy. It's a lot of the jokes I tell come from stories that I would tell you. And I'd add a lot more like colour and stuff in that and carry on a lot differently.
Embellish it a bit.
Embellish it. But then when I'm on stage, I've got to get it nice and streamlined and clear. And like people lose attention real quick.
Yeah.
So, because you're my mate, you're not just going to look at the ceiling and then look at your phone and go, okay, mate, yeah. But on stage, if you lose them just like that, they'll just be like, no, don't want it.
Yeah.
Don't want it. But that's a good idea for a future.
That's the thing too. You were saying there, like realism versus entertainment.
Absolutely.
Do you do more realism and you say, yeah, you tap and go because every time you go to take your pants off, you come in your pants? Do you do that, or do you balance it out and put a bit more colour in that? Sorry guys, we're getting gratuitous this episode. But yeah, it's kind of that history versus entertainment.
Yeah.
It's like finding that balance.
Well, it's a good future episode you could do is best director cuts of movies.
Yeah, that's a good episode. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
You know, and you just like, even if it's on your own, I really like listening to the podcast where you're on your own, just getting really excited about stuff, going, guys, I watched this and I really liked it and it was good and oh my God. And I'm just sitting here, I'm getting excited too. I'm like, oh fuck, oh, this is good.
I've actually got one lined up I'm going to do on my own. It's going to be, you heard it here first. I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to be it's going to be the 5 films that of the last decade that really like blew me away.
Right.
That like really affected me.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear
I pretty much got the list there, but I want to rewatch all those films first. So I've got to do all that and then as I go. But yeah, I just want to tell people. It's really just like I discovered these movies and they're fucking great, but they're not known by a wide audience. So I just want to fucking introduce people to these great movies. And if I can sell one person on one of these great movies, and yeah, fuck, I've done my job.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
Yeah. Let's talk about another famous like Swords and Sandals movie thing. Swords and Sandals thing. A Swords and Sandals movie that is actually quite popular. Gladiator.
Yes.
Now, obviously, that'd be embellish the fuck for story and stuff. Like, you know, we just pick and choose bits out of history because that's what they seem to do with these movies. They're like, okay, this person didn't really exist. Let's just take kind of pieces of that person, but we'll put them into this character that existed at that same time, and we'll do that. Like Troy, again, for example, in that movie, kind of like the way that movie spanned out, the war between Greece and Troy actually covers a decade.
Yep.
But in the movie, it just feels like it covers a couple of weeks, maybe a few months.
Yeah.
You know? Like the Greeks are just hanging out on the beaches of Troy for 2 months or something like that.
Yeah.
And then in 2 days, they build a horse and fuck off and leave it on the beach. Here's your fucking horse, eh? See you later. You bested us. Have a horse.
There was also like some like funny bits in the actual like Homer in where there was like who was it? can't remember who it was, but one of them was just like riding around in a chariot, just screaming insults, just around and around the city over and over and over again.
I remember that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the scene in when Achilles is out the front of the gates of Troy, and he's just calling for Hector, like Brad Pitt. That scene where he's just full of rage, and he's not even looking at the gates. He's just looking down. He's like, Hector! He's just calling because he's killed his bloody cousin or whatever who was wearing his armor. Spoilers.
Yep.
And then they have that great fucking fight scene out the front, and Eric Bana's got his terrible accent. There's this one line. I think I've said this before, but there's this one line that Eric Bana delivers in Troy, and it's terrible. It's leading up to a battle scene, and the soldier said something to him, and Eric Bana's like, "Good, I'll be right there." It's just the delivery of that line is fucking awful. That gets me every time. I need to rewatch.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it. But yeah, let's talk about Gladiator a little bit, because I did a little bit of research about like historical accuracy of Gladiator.
Yep.
And apparently at the beginning of the film, where what's his bloody name? Maximus
Decimus Meridius.
He's off in he's still fighting the Germanic wars, and you know the Romans, and then there's the big battle scene at the start. You know what we do in life echoes in eternity.
He's got a big smile on his face right now, guys.
Yeah, Russell Crowe. Not me, Russell Crowe. And there's that big scene where they fight the Germanic forces, kind of like these fucking barbarian, barbarian motherfuckers with dual axes. They're like, come on, you cunts, we fucking kill you.
And we're going to smash you.
I just said the C word. I'm going to have to bleep that now. But,
can you bleep mine out?
Did you say one?
No, right, I'm doing right now.
Yeah, apparently the tactics used by the Romans in that first scene, apparently they're very accurate.
To a certain degree.
To a degree. They're probably some of the most accurate Roman tactics depicted on film. They're not quite there, but they're as accurate as they probably could be for a film.
Yeah, look, to
without being boring. Let's just make a shield wall and they can just smash up against it for half hour. That's not exciting.
But it's legit.
But it's legit.
Yeah, well,
that's what they would do.
The Romans, they relied so heavily on their relied so heavily on their formations that they would never break it. They would never break formation. They always hold their formation. So much so that you'd have a bunch of guys deep, and so the guy in front with his shield would actually have his foot leaning up against the other guy behind his shield, to the point where the guy you want in the front is getting crushed against the people in front of you.
Yeah.
You know? And it's also just another thing. They've got the shield in front. The reason why they got the shield like behind them and being held there is so that they don't turn and run. You put one of your like more weaker people at the front so they cannot run.
Yeah.
And so it just holds them in place.
Wow.
And they would belt against them to the point where they're so weak that, they would break formation if they knew for certainty that they had turned and ran. So if they've turned and run, like it's actually a very interesting thing within Roman culture is if a senator was ever called a coward in the Senate, he would rip his toga off so he was completely naked and say, "Look at my scars, they are on my front. You'll find no scars on my back. I am no coward."
Oh, fuck.
Standing there with his dick and balls, just standing out with his hands out, just going like...
No yellow stripe on his back. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of thing... Now I'm just getting curious about the history here. Is that the kind of thing, so, for example, you were just saying, like, you know, if they were smashing up against the shield wall and the forces were like, nah, fuck this, and they turned to flee... Would the Romans just hold formation and just charge, just keep moving forward, or would they just break formation and just charge?
Depends on the general. Really bad generals would be like, yeah, let's go to them. But what happens is, a lot of the time, they would go and chase after them, but it'd be a trap. Like the Battle of Cannae, which was one of Rome's biggest losses they ever had against Hannibal. They're actually in their formation pushing up against them, and they're actually winning, because during that time, if you were pushing up against an enemy and moving forward, then that means they were giving way. So you're just like going, I've got him, I've got him, I've got him.
Keep going, keep
going.
going.
And in that time, that actually had surrounded the entire army and done a double envelopment.
Wow.
Which had never been done before and has never been done since. Like, that's how smart Hannibal was, that he's just like, I know what these Romans are going to do. So let's just try and surround them. And then over a period of like 6 or 7 hours, it was just slaughter, to the point where some like Romans had buried their heads in the sand and suffocated in the sand to kill themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I know.
Well, Romans are kind of good because you say they're crazy about their formations. Was it the kind of thing where were Roman soldiers great fighters on their own? Like,
no.
if they were standing there toe to toe with one other person,
super rare for a Roman fighter to be good on his own.
Yeah.
Like
they were just
relied on each
their
other.
Formations.
Yeah, they relied so heavily on each other.
Tactics.
That they weren't like, you got to consider who they were going up against. Like in battle, a lot of the time, the enemies they were going up against were like Gallic or Germanic people who are a good head taller than them. And a lot stronger because of their diet. They would eat a lot of like meats and milks. The Gallic people would, and the Romans would only have like grains and stuff like that.
And in the Germanic wars and that, the Germans they were fucking like insane berserkers, weren't they?
Oh.
They were just they had no shields or nothing. They were just weapons in both hands, just run in and just try to just wow.
And they would have like they would bring their families with them too, because it would force them to actually stay in battle, because they know that if they turned and ran, the Romans would just take their wives, and the wives would just like flash their vaginas in battle and be like, "Look at what you'll lose if you die."
Wow. Wow.
Those crazy Germans, man.
So what about more of the accuracy of Gladiator? Because like there are a few things like I noticed in these Roman pictures and that, like a gladius or a gladii.
Well, we can refer to it as a gladius.
A gladius, like a Roman sword.
One gladi. Well, a gladi is what they referred to it as, but a gladii is two. Like
I noticed in Ben-HUR yesterday, because it's a movie that is 60 years old, and it's kind of at the time. It's not really. You wouldn't imagine they're the kind of filmmakers and that really want to focus too heavily on accuracy. Like historical accuracy and stuff. But I just happened to notice that one of, like, Masala, like the main antagonist in that movie, his sword is quite short, like the gladiator sword. It's almost like the length of like a short machete.
Yeah, it was almost comically small. And you pointed it out to me, and I said, yeah, well, look, the gladius wasn't very long. It was only used as a short stabbing device to get quick jabs in. It was never
designed for slicing.
Exactly. It wasn't designed
because they never broke formation. It was very rare that they broke formation, so
just
they never really needed
stab.
So they could just make a hole in their formation and stab.
Yeah, and it wasn't an overly adorned blade. It was a very simple blade to make, and because when you're doing this whole empirical thing, you want to make as many swords as you can and make them all roughly the same, so a soldier can pick them up, one from one side of the continent or one from the other, and be able to wield it.
Yeah.
Julius Caesar, his soldiers were so good because he would train them with weighted gladius blades, training swords, that weighed twice the amount that a regular sword would. So that when they eventually like used the sword and like moved it about, it wouldn't weigh too much in their arm, and they were overly strong with it.
And they would be faster.
Yeah, shorter, quicker, sharper jabs. So
wow.
When he went up against other Roman legions in the civil wars, the other Roman legions were frightened because of just how strong these guys were.
Do you know much about the gladiatorial side, kind of like of the movies and stuff? Because I know they have it in the Colosseum and stuff, but in this movie, it may just be like a movie embellishment and stuff, but they have like the scene where they pull the bloody canopy up and the tigers come out. They have like tigers and shit in the arenas and stuff like that.
They did have battles against like different beasts, but a lot of the time they would bring in like weird beasts. So they bring in giraffes, or they refer to them as like camel leopards. That's what they didn't.
Leopards.
Camel leopards, because they look like camels, but they have leopard spots.
Wow.
So they'll battle against those, and it'd just be such a weird spectacle. And a lot of the time, the meat that was like killed from them was given to the plebs as a form of being like, "Here you go,
thanks for coming."
Fed. And then the plebs would be like, "Oh, that's great," and they'll be like, "Oh, and by the way, this is being donated by this rich guy." So that everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's good. We like him." And it was a good way of like building up your patronage within the city and being like, "Yeah, I'm a good guy. You like me," you know. You know, it's
okay.
Also, they had like the naval battles that would happen in the Flavian Amphitheatre, which is what they refer to it as the Colosseum, but during the time they would have called it the Flavian Amphitheatre. And they would have naval battles. They would fill it up with water, and they would have naval battles in the actual... Like,
bullshit.
Yeah, no, legit. They would have naval battles. And it was like, yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
They would drain all the water out, whoosh, straight back out, and then, yeah.
Fuck, that's insane. I never knew anything like that. Wow.
Yeah, they could have went a whole different way with Gladiator the movie. Like, imagine saying
they're like, let's fill this bitch up with water. Wow. I've got a couple other questions just about Romans, because I was watching Ben-HUR yesterday, and I'm just kind of like, because Ben-HUR, a lot of it takes place in Jerusalem, and the Romans have occupied the city.
Yep. And
I'm just kind of like, in these movies, like, the Romans always appear, like all the Roman soldiers, they're always very clean. They're always very ornate. You know, they have very nice armor. A lot of the Romans, like in Ben-HUR, like a lot of the base Roman soldiers, they just pretty much just have like breastplates. They have like no arm coverings and that. They're pretty much like their underclothes are just kind of like short sleeves and stuff. They have a helmet, maybe a spear and a shield and stuff, but that's about it. But one thing I kind of want to know about the Romans, like, were they just really a bunch of invading assholes, or it's just like because the Romans never really come across in all these films as like truly evil, like we gotta invade this city because we're the worst conquering assholes ever, and we just want to take over. Like, I'm not really sure why, but during that period, or in this made up story, Ben-HUR, that why the Romans have occupied Jerusalem.
Yeah, it's a lot of the time when they talk about the empirical part of Rome and why they've taken over certain areas, people will be like, oh, they were just power-hungry sort of people. But a lot of the time, they were sort of pushed into war, because they'd have one area that they would take over, right? Simply because it was a defense, because they know if they can take over that part, then they're safe against these other people, and they would say, all right, you can be my buffer state, you stay there, you do whatever you want, we don't give a fuck, but you deal with those guys on the outside. And these guys, and they build an alliance with these people, trading relations and good and that. And then all of a sudden, someone would try to fight someone on their side. And then these people that were the buffer state, like, can you give us a hand? Otherwise, they're going to come and take you over. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. All right. So they go in.
We got to march our 5,000 strong troop over there.
Yeah, go and thrash them. And then they would put that place down. And then they would make that the buffer state. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
So it just gradually just ballooned outwards.
Yeah. And also Rome had an incredible fear of Rome being sacked. It happened, by Gallic invaders. I can't remember who it was. But it was just like the Gauls had taken over Rome, and
Asterix and Obelix.
Yeah, well, they very early on in their life they took over Rome, and Rome had to give over so much gold to these guys, and they'll put it on a scale. But one of the senators noticed that the scale was doctored in such a way that they had to give more gold than what they had to. And he said that is not fair. And so the Gallic king, he grabbed his sword and then laid it down on the fucking like side there to make it even heavier, and said, woe to the vanquished. As in sucked in. It's just like, what are you going to do about it? So yeah, they were constantly at fear of that happening. So by constantly pushing their borders out, they knew that they were safer.
They had more buffer if anyone had to. Exactly. If anyone tried to invade, they would have more they had to get through.
But a lot of the time, it wasn't. Like, for example, they thrashed Carthage in the Second Punic War to the point where Carthage was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we're not going to go to war against you again." And the Romans like, "Cool." But then Rome got cocky after that, and then they just said, "All right, looks like you're trying to take over this island. It's part of our thing, so we're going to have to go to war with you." And they're like, no, we don't want to go to war with you. We'll give you all these extra reparations and stuff like that. It's like, nah, we're just going to go to war with you. And it ended up going, for them to keep saying, oh, no, don't. They're like, all right, well, you got to do this. Got to hand over all your swords and that. And it's like, okay, no worries, here you go. And it's like, we're still not convinced. Give away all your children so that we know. We'll look after all your children, make sure they're safe. And there's like horrible stories in the histories of like these mothers that are crying and just like gnashing their teeth as their children are being given away. And then Rome's like, okay, good. And then they just change their mind and go, you know what? No, we want you to tear down Carthage and rebuild it 15 miles away inland. And now Carthage was a sea-bearing nation. They needed the sea for their trade.
Yeah.
And so Rome was like, yeah,
you'll be right.
Woe to the vanquished. They tried to turn it on them. And so what happened was, all right, then we're going to have to go to war with the Romans. And amazingly, they put up an incredible fight against the Romans, even though they had no weapons. They had to fashion like spears and stuff like that from makeshift, like melting down things within their city. And the women would actually shave their heads to create bowstrings. So all these women would have no hair fighting against these Romans and throwing tiles down on these Romans as they were coming in. It was guerrilla warfare for a long time, but eventually they lost, and the Romans razed Carthage to the ground and just sowed the soil with salt so that nothing could grow there.
Has there ever been any films like based around the Punic Wars or anything?
The Punic Wars,
or like that you were just talking about, like with Carthage and stuff.
Honestly,
is that not the kind of thing that's famous enough? You know, there's no famous story written. There's no Achilles.
It's no
or
300.
Hector
There's no
Leonidas.
Right.
There's no Ben-Hur. Even though Ben-Hur is not real. You know, there's none of that.
No, Leonidas was real.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
There was no mythical character based around this time that they could...
Leonidas was like 60 when he went to war with the Persians.
This is Sparta.
What's that?
This is Sparta.
Yeah, I suppose there's a difference there. But
it's based on a comic book 300. So, yeah, it's very, very embellished history versus reality. That's incredibly embellished. Another book there written by Frank Miller.
But no... I really would love to see a movie series about the Punic Wars. And, it would be so good. I did come up with an idea on one of the previous podcasts about,
on movie pictures.
Yeah, movie pictures.
Which we're going to do more of in the future. Very soon in the future. I want to do more movie pictures.
But yeah, I think it'd be great. Really show, like, the Romans could be total assholes.
Yeah.
And they would get... The thing about the Romans, though, is that the worst thing you could do was beat them. Because they'd just come back the next year with an even bigger army. Every single time. There was a battle between Pyrrhus of Epirus. He was a Greek, sort of a Macedonian king. He was the final Greek to stand up against the Romans. And he kept winning battles against the Romans every fucking time. And he said, if I win one more battle, I will lose. It was known as a Pyrrhic victory, and that's where you get the term a Pyrrhic victory from. It's a battle that causes you to lose so much just to win.
Shit.
Sort of like Thanos in a way.
That's so true. What did it cost? Everything. Wow. Let's start to wrap this up. But I've actually really fucking enjoyed this, like talking about history and stuff.
I love having someone ask me a question and then ask me another one afterwards and not walk off.
When do you normally get to lay out all your Roman facts?
Never. Never.
Like when you get pissed at the pub and you're like,
oh, yeah.
Here's one thing you want to do about the fucking Romans, right?
I was going to say, like, the only time I ever get to tell anyone about, like, history is when I'm drunk at a party and then people just walk away. You're the only person that goes, really? I'm like, yeah, really? And you want to hear something else? Sure. Okay.
So I gotta say, man, like, I really fucking enjoyed Ben-Hur. I can say I've seen it now. Like, I enjoy Swords and Sandals movie. I've always been a big sword guy, so I pretty much enjoy anything with a sword in it. We were gonna, like, next time we'll talk about history versus reality, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. The reality of Lord of the Rings. Well, isn't it?
Here's the thing about fucking hobbits, right?
Well, isn't it the actual books themselves were meant to be that they are lost relics from another time? In that it's the whole Lord of the Rings happened way in the past.
I was taking the piss, but if you're being serious...
No, legit. Like, the whole book is actually written from the perspective of... it's written by Samwise and his daughter, because he ends up going to that bloody elf paradise place. But yeah, apparently it was set like 8,000 years in the past. And he wanted to write it in such a way that it seems like he found the books.
I have no idea. I just like those movies.
They're great movies.
They're fucking great movies. The extended cuts. If you say you just prefer the theatrical cuts, I'll slap you.
Guys, everything's extended in this household.
Doodle
joke. There's another one. Put that on the list.
Yeah, I really fucking enjoyed that movie. Classic Hollywood, like, through and through. I really enjoyed Charlton Heston in that movie. I read that a lot of people didn't think his performance was quite that good.
Really?
It wasn't as emotive in that as they probably would have liked, but I thought he did a really good job. I thought it was great. For a 60-year-old film, I had a fucking great time. And that chariot race is absolutely fucking spectacular. Like, I mentioned this to you before we started recording, like, if they made that film now, which they did 2 years ago, the remake, which was awful, if they made that film now, because there's about 25 minutes where they spend in the chariot arena, and probably nearly fucking 5 or 6 minutes of that, they just have a chariot parade where all the chariots just do a couple of laps around the arena, and it's just and all the fucking guys are playing trumpets for like 4 or 5 minutes, and it's literally just like a parade. And I'm like, there's no way they would have that in a movie today. That would be condensed down to like 45 seconds with lots of close-ups of the actors giving exposition and shit, and like, you really need to win this, and cutting back to Morgan Freeman saying like, you've got to win this due to Ben-HUR, all this sort of shit. But yeah, I fucking loved it. Like, if you've never watched Ben-HUR, fucking like give it a go. And I had no idea there was really like a tangent religious angle with Jesus Christ in it, because I knew, like, because Charlton Heston was crowned like he was like the biblical epic guy, because before this he did the 10 Commandments, which I've also seen on VHS, 3-hour 40-minute movie on VHS back in the day. But yeah, it's just, I never knew. I knew it was kind of like a biblical epic, but I never knew. I'm sure there's parts of it that are possibly true, like in regard. But yeah, it's based on a book.
It's it was a great crossover.
Yeah.
A great crossover.
It was the first crossover.
Imagine that. Like, you'd be able to sell it to the Christian crowd too, to be like, hey, Jesus is in this movie, and then you got a whole bunch of people in the like 60s and 50s and 60s just being like, I reckon I might go and take the wife and that to go and watch it, because it's a good Christian film.
This is the Thor Ragnarok of Christian pictures.
Yeah.
Like Judah Ben-HUR is Thor, and like Jesus is the Hulk.
Yeah, exactly right. Perfect crossover.
Yeah. I don't want to offend any Christian listeners or anything like that. So I just
who do I want to offend? I want to offend people with Thermomixes. You know what? Fuck you guys. Seriously?
Thermomix is actually really good. You can make ice cream in them.
I don't give a shit. Get an ice cream maker.
Russell, if you had to recommend some more historically accurate films or TV shows or anything, or just some of maybe your personal favourites, because you're a big history buff, what would you recommend to the folks out there listening?
I don't watch...
Obviously, Alexander.
Yeah, yep. I don't watch too much like movies and stuff like that, because my time's quite limited with...
But if you just had to pick some, Russell,
okay,
Jesus.
well, old Big Dick Fassbender in Centurion.
Centurions, nice and schlocky.
Good schlocky film. I like it. It's one of those ones where I can actually just shut my brain off and just have a little mental wank over the armor.
Directed by Neil Marshall. We actually said this before. A movie's like, in this day and age, a movie's great if you don't look at your phone.
Yep. I didn't look at my phone during the movie. I was having so much fun.
A great movie. You must have been thoroughly engaged.
There should be like a way when they're doing reviews to tell how long people spend on their phones on average with the movie, and then just being able to go, okay, well, this movie was this good because of this factor,
So they can do, like, you can create an app and then you can choose what movie you're watching. So I'm watching Ben-HUR, and then you press the button on your phone on the app when it goes through, and then every time you pick up your phone and you engage the screen, it marks that section. And then when you put your phone down, so like, okay, here at the 25-30 minute mark where Ben-HUR is having a
high percentage of people
with Masala, then that's it, you were bored in, and then it calculates all the averages of what people were bored in, what scenes or whatever.
We probably shouldn't be talking about this on
because that's
actually a really good idea.
Money-making idea.
Actually, okay, guys, pretend you didn't hear any of this, okay?
I'm just going to beep out that 2 minutes. It's going to be like, beep.
Hey, can you beep out the second time I say the C word?
Okay. So Centurion, Alexander, probably Troy as well.
Yeah, and
you sent a lot of the armor and stuff.
For all the shit I say about the opening battle sequence for Gladiator, I still fucking enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Such a good movie.
That's a good piece of entertainment.
Good old Russell Crowe, good old Rusty, just up there going, I will have my vengeance in this world or the next. Rusty. I'll throw a phone at you. Fuck you. I'm Rusty.
30-odd foot of grunt. So Gladiator, Centurion, Troy, Alexander, and we'll say Ben-HUR as well, because that's just a fucking great movie. You know, there's that saying, it's bigger than Ben-HUR, and when you watch this movie, the scope, the scale is fucking huge.
Well, what other movies up until then would have even, touched near it?
Match that scale? Jesus, when did Cleopatra come out? I mean, I know the scale of that was big, but I don't feel it was as big as that fucking movie. My phone is not on silent. Fuck off.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I put my phone on silent because I know how much I respect you, but you've got no self-respect. You're like...
I love you, Russell. Stop it. Russell Redmond, if people want to find you on the internet, where can they go? Tell them where they can find the moth memes.
Okay, well, you can go to my meme page, which is Launceston Memes.
For all your local Tasmanian memes.
All you guys in the US would be like, yeah, no, I'm all good, buddy, thanks. I've also got Cats I Meet Whilst Gardening, which is all the cats I meet whilst gardening.
It's and you do a little review of the cats?
I do a review of the cats, and I've got to say, each one is a pretty high review. They're all 10 out of 10.
They all pretty much get 10 out of 10.
Also, I've started up a Facebook page making fun of a local racist politician, Steve Mav, who waves on the side of the road to people, but he's
waved to me so many times. I'm like, that guy's not going to get anywhere because he spends his Sundays like, he'll thumbs up a car when it's coming and then right past and then he'll wave and smile at the next one. I'm like, this is a fucking idiot.
Oh, he's got super racist. He's essentially like
Paul. Well, he's a fuckhead then. I don't want to borrow of him.
He's a Pauline Hanson, but without the balls. Like he's just like a poor man's Pauline Hanson. And I'm actually upset that my window winder is broken on my driver's side because I can't wind down the window and scream, "Suck me, Sav Mav," at him. But yeah, so I've started up a Facebook page called Stove Mav, not Steve Mav, Stove Mav.
STOVE space MAV.
Which is basically me pretending to be him, but as a racist stove.
You invited me to that like last week. I'm like, what the fuck's this shit?
Yeah, I should have got a bit of preposition for that.
Yeah, you should have.
Just be like, hey bro, you want to like my page? It's me pretending to be a piece of kitchenware.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out.
Like, legitimately, some guy sent me a message into the page and said, what even is this? And then I responded by saying, I am a political oven.
Have you got anything about your comedy? You and Jake and Daniel and stuff? Is it going to get to the point where maybe you guys are going to start to film maybe some of your comedy and post it online? Or?
I don't know. The thing about comedy is that you've got a amount of jokes that you've got, and to just put it online is your way of saying, okay, I'm giving this joke up.
Yeah.
Because you can't perform it, unless you're huge, big, and everyone loves that joke. Like, us losing one of those little jokes is very important to us. So we don't give up too many.
You know what you should do? You guys, because, you're the all right fellas, you should just start doing, maybe just, little skits. Just filming, let's come up with this skit, every fortnight.
Oh, that'd be...
we'll film like a little 60, 90-second skit or something like that, and then we can post it. There's always action. There's always traction going on.
Yeah. No,
if you like this, come down to Bloody Homebrew Comedy.
Well, Homebrew Comedy, yeah, it's our fresh sort of new material night, so everything's always new, and people are trying out new stuff, and we're also getting a lot of new people up on the stage.
Not me.
I saw not yet.
Not yet.
I scouted out this young girl.
Up there, I'll be like, I watch Ben-HUR, right?
So anyway, guys, I run a podcast. Ladies, please.
Have you read this new issue of Batman Damned, right? Gets his cock out, or as I like to call it, his batwang. Thank you. Thank you.
Are you going to superimpose some laughter in there?
I'll be here all night.
As well, after that joke, you're going to just edit it in?
We don't do laugh tracks on this show.
So Homebrew, I saw a girl online who was shitposting. Local girl.
I was going to say something then, but keep going.
Oh, yeah. No, I noticed it straight away. I saw her shitposting like, this girl's pretty good. So I sent her a message saying, are you interested in doing stand-up comedy? And she's like, yeah, I've always wanted to do it, but I didn't know if I could. And I'm like, all right, I want you to do it next in a month or two. All right, no worries. And then sure enough, she got up on stage.
She smashed it.
Killed it. I'm like, fucking saw it.
Russell's discovered one.
I smelt it out and go.
Have you guys got anything coming up in the last week of this month?
Yeah, we've got Daniel Walker's solo show, which is Invoices and Bad Choices. I came up with the name.
Title.
Thank you.
Title.
Yeah, his solo show. I'll be performing on that one. It'll be at St. John's Craft Beer, and I can't remember the date.
Because I've got holidays at the end of this month.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I got 10 days off.
Hang on,
because I've taken off time to play Red Dead Redemption 2.
Of course, yeah.
I went to the boss today and I was like, have you approved those holidays yet? He's like, no, but consider them done. I was like, thank fuck for that. I'm just planning my entire life around Red Dead Redemption 2.
Well, if you can stop looking at horse testicles for 5 minutes.
Oh, those horse balls, how good are they? I found out the other week that if you go into the colder regions, the horse balls will actually shrink in the cold. And then if you go out into the warmer areas, they'll get plumper and hang lower.
I like how that's a part of the game that people are buying because of it. But Batman having his dick out, no.
Yeah, it's the fucking joke of the day. It's all anyone's talking about. It makes me so angry.
So anyway, Invoices and Bad Choices comedy show, October 27th at 7 p.m. Down at the St. John's Craft Beer. So hopefully you can make it.
Yeah, I'll come.
Just get off the
I'll come because I'll have time off, so I don't have to get up early to go to work. So I'll be able to come.
You just walk in there and just like see a whole group, me with a whole group of people, and just go, Russ, horse balls.
I've been playing so many horse balls the last few days. I got to tell you about it.
You've just got like a time-lapse presentation of all the different horse balls in different regions. And you go, look at this. This is 10 degrees. All right, 10 degrees. Look at those balls.
There are 52 different breeds of horses. Here's all their balls.
I love gaming nowadays.
If you want to find the Bearded Geeks online, you go to Facebook, facebook.com/BeardedGeeksPod. If you want to listen to the show, we're on SoundCloud and iTunes, where you can also download the show if you're on the go or in the car, at the gym.
The Gime.
And you can also find us on YouTube as well. If you want to find us on Instagram, we're there. We're at Twitter. And if you want to buy a t-shirt, you can go to tpublic.com. And if if you're into any podcasting apps or anything like that, you can generally find us on most of those as well, because we're pretty much everywhere.
Oh,
we pretty much, iTunes is the great filter. It filters down to pretty much every podcasting app. So you can check us out at all those places. Yeah, it's good to be back.
Hey, it's good to have you back.
I was a bit worried there for a while because I was feeling a bit, I wasn't feeling it.
Down in the funk.
I was down with the funk. I wasn't feeling it at all. And then everybody kept saying to me, they're like, why don't you cut back to fortnightly shows? I'm like, no, because that'll fuck my intro. the fortnightly grab bag of topics. It doesn't have the same role. The fortnightly grab bag of topics, it just doesn't sound the same. So it would totally fuck. I was like 3 people said that to me. And I was like, no, because that will ruin my intro.
You see,
I just need a break. And I've had my break, and now I feel great, and we're back.
The truth is, listeners, Brent cares so much about you guys that he wants to give you content all the fucking time.
Yeah. A weekly show is a big deal, man. Like,
hey, I love it. I love being able to go to work and have you guys in my ear holes, just being in my holes. I love having
banging,
you guys in
my
holes.
in your ear holes.
Man, nothing better than having Jags in your holes.
Nothing like a bit of slippery tip in your ear hole.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus,
it gets me so excited.
Russell Redmond, thank you for coming in and sharing with us your knowledge of history.
Thanks for letting me masturbate in the microphone for the last hour.
No, it's been good. Nice little balance. Yeah, it was really good.
We got it.
Next week, what are we doing next week? Probably Venom. We've got to talk about Spider-Man, PS4 as well. Got a few other things lined up in that as well. Waiting to get all the guys back in the same room. Bobby, Pat, and I have not been in the same room together for nearly 8 weeks. It's been insane.
And for you guys, in the last
month, I've seen Pat on his own. I've seen Bobby on his own once.
Yep.
And no, the 3 of us have not been in the same room together, but we're all going to watch. There's 6 of us going to watch Venom tomorrow night, and I do not give a shit about that movie whatsoever. Yeah. I was just like, I am 0% on that movie. I do not give a fuck. This is really rare for me because normally I give kind of a fuck about a movie, or actually, if I go to see a movie, it's because I want to see it. But this movie, I do not care whatsoever. But I'm going, so I'll go and see it, and you'll hear us talk about it soon.
Can't wait.
We might even be doing maybe a double episode in a week.
Oh,
maybe.
Watch the fuck out.
Well, I've got to get next week's episode, but then I got to get Spider-Man and Venom out, so maybe 2 episodes in 1 week, if you're lucky. I'm not making any promises, but yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for coming in, Russell, the 4th Bearded Geek.
Thanks, my man.
You just need to grow a beard now.
I've got a little bit of stubble. Look at that. Here you guys. Here, that's my stubble. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you all next week on the Bearded Geeks. Hey!